The house stood alone, shrouded in an eerie silence. Cracked walls and overgrown weeds whispered tales of forgotten memories. Abba, a young photographer, felt drawn to its dilapidated charm. He had heard whispers of its haunted past, stories that piqued his curiosity rather than instilled fear. As he entered the dusty hallway, a cold shiver ran down his spine, a harbinger of the unsettling journey ahead. The air inside was thick with the smell of decay, and the silence was deafening. Abba's footsteps echoed through the empty rooms as he explored the house, his camera capturing the haunting beauty of its decay. He stumbled upon a small wooden door, hidden at the back of an upstairs bedroom, leading to a forgotten attic. The musty air hit him like a wall as he pushed open the creaking door, stepping into the dimly lit space. The attic was a treasure trove of forgotten relics, covered in a thick layer of dust. Old furniture, discarded toys, and stacks of yellowed books lined the walls. Abba's heart quickened as his eyes fell upon a small leather-bound diary resting on a dusty table. Its worn cover seemed to beckon him, whispering promises of untold secrets. He gently picked it up, brushing off the years of neglect. The diary felt strangely warm in his hands, as if imbued with a life of its own. The diary's pages were brittle and yellowed, the ink faded but still legible. Abba carefully turned to the first page, revealing neat handwriting and a date from decades past. The initial entries were mundane, filled with details of daily life, hopes and dreams. A young woman named Anya wrote about her life in the house, her words painting a picture of a bygone era. Abba was captivated by her story, feeling a strange connection to this woman he'd never met. As days turned into nights, Abba found himself drawn deeper into Anya's world. Her entries became more melancholic, hinting at a growing darkness within the house. There were mentions of strange noises, cold spots, and a feeling of being watched. Abba dismissed them as tricks of an overactive imagination, but a seed of unease had been planted in his mind. He couldn't shake off the feeling that Anya's words held a deeper meaning, a hidden message waiting to be deciphered. One entry in particular sent chills down Abba's spine. Anya described a recurring nightmare, a shadowy figure that haunted her sleep, whispering her name. She wrote of a growing fear, a sense of dread that permeated every corner of the house. Abba paused, his breath catching in his throat. He too had been experiencing vivid dreams, dark shadows lurking at the edge of his vision. A cold shiver ran down his spine, and for the first time he felt a flicker of fear. Determined to uncover the truth, Abba delved deeper into the diary. He spent hours poring over Anya's words, searching for clues, for answers. His research led him to the local library, where he uncovered old newspaper clippings and forgotten records. He learned that the house had a tragic past, a story whispered in hushed tones by the townsfolk. A family had lived and died within its walls, their fate shrouded in mystery. As Abba pieced together the fragments of information, a chilling realization dawned upon him. The family that had perished in the house, their names matched those mentioned in Anya's diary. He discovered that Anya, the woman whose words he felt so connected to, had been the sole survivor of a horrific event. Her family had been brutally murdered, and she had vanished without a trace soon after. The diary ended abruptly after that entry, leaving Abba with more questions than answers. The house, once a source of intrigue, now felt oppressive, heavy with the weight of its tragic past. Abba started noticing strange occurrences, subtle at first but growing stronger with each passing day. He would hear whispers in the dead of night, his name being called from empty rooms. Objects moved on their own, doors slammed shut, as if an unseen presence was making itself known. Fear gnawed at the edges of his courage, but he refused to abandon his search for the truth. One evening, as Abba sat in the attic, engrossed in Anya's diary, he felt a cold spot settle over him. The air grew heavy, and he could sense a presence in the room. The hair on the back of his neck stood on end, and a shiver ran down his spine. He slowly looked up, his heart pounding in his chest. In the shadows he could just make out a figure, a translucent silhouette watching him. He froze, his mind struggling to comprehend what his eyes were seeing. The figure flickered in and out of view, its edges blurring with the shadows. It seemed to be a young woman, her sorrowful eyes locked on Abba. He felt a strange pull towards her, a mixture of fear and an odd sense of longing. He knew with a certainty that chilled him to the bone that he was looking at Anya's ghost. Terror threatened to overwhelm him, but Abba found himself rooted to the spot, unable to tear his gaze away from the spectral figure. Anya's ghost seemed to glide towards him, her ethereal form passing through a dusty old chair as if it were mere air. He could feel a cold whisper against his ear, though he couldn't make out the words. It was as if she was trying to communicate with him, to tell him something of vital importance. Section 5. A Name in the Dark. The next few days were a blur of fear and confusion. The ghost's appearances became more frequent, her presence more pronounced. Objects moved with increased aggression, lights flickered ominously, and the whispering escalated into chilling moans that echoed through the empty halls. Abba was living in a nightmare, his sanity hanging by a thread. He knew he had to do something to help Anya find peace, but how? One night, as Abba lay in bed, unable to sleep, he heard a distinct voice. It was Anya, her voice soft yet filled with urgency. She whispered a single word, a name. He shot up in bed, his heart pounding in his chest. The name echoed in his mind, unfamiliar yet strangely significant. He knew instinctively that this was the key to unraveling the mystery of Anya's death and freeing her from her ghostly torment. Fueled by a mix of fear and determination, Abba returned to the local library. He scoured old records, microfilms, and historical documents, driven by the name Anya had whispered. Hours turned into days as he tirelessly followed every lead, every dead end increasing his desperation. Just when his hope began to dwindle, he stumbled upon a faded photograph tucked away in an old newspaper archive. The blood drained from his face as he recognized the name beneath the picture. It was the name Anya had whispered, the name of her killer, a person she had once trusted. Once. Armed with this newfound knowledge, Abba decided to confront Anya's ghost. He knew he couldn't do this alone. He needed help, someone who could bridge the gap between the living and the dead. He reached out to a local woman known for her spiritual abilities and her connection to the other side. Together, they planned a séance, a desperate attempt to communicate with Anya's spirit and bring her justice. The air in the attic was thick with anticipation and trepidation as they set up for the séance. Candles flickered, casting dancing shadows on the walls as the medium entered a trance. Abba held his breath, his heart pounding in his chest. He could feel Anya's presence growing stronger, her energy filling the room. A cold wind swept through the attic, extinguishing the candles and plunging them into darkness. Then a voice, soft at first, then growing in strength, filled the darkness. It was Anya, her voice filled with a mixture of sadness and rage. She confirmed the name Abba had uncovered, the name of the person who had betrayed her trust and taken the lives of her loved ones. Her voice trembled with the pain of her past, the injustice she had suffered. She pleaded for peace, for her story to be told, for her killer to be held accountable. The séance left Abba shaken but determined. He had communicated with Anya's ghost, heard her plea for justice. He knew what he had to do. He contacted the local authorities, presenting them with the evidence he had gathered, the diary, the historical records, and the chilling account of the séance. At first skeptical, the police were eventually convinced by Abba's sincerity and the weight of the evidence. The investigation was reopened, the cold case warmed by Anya's ghostly intervention. The investigation was swift and conclusive. The name Anya had whispered led the police to a man living a quiet life in a nearby town. He was old now, a shadow of the person he once was, but the evidence against him was irrefutable. He confessed to the crime, his conscience finally succumbing to the weight of his past. Justice, though long delayed, was finally served. With the truth revealed and the killer brought to justice, a sense of peace settled over the house. The oppressive atmosphere lifted, replaced by a quiet stillness. Abba returned to the attic one last time, a sense of closure washing over him. As he stood there, he felt a gentle touch on his shoulder. Turning, he saw Anya's ghost, her ethereal form shimmering in the dim light. This time there was no fear, only gratitude in her eyes. She smiled at him, a sad but peaceful smile, and then, with a final whisper of thanks, she faded away, finally free from her earthly bonds. The news of the solved case spread through the town like wildfire. The house, once shrouded in fear and speculation, was finally freed from its dark past. People whispered of Anya, her tragic story, and the young photographer who had helped her find peace. Abba, forever changed by his experience, decided to honor Anya's memory in a unique way. He turned the house into a memorial, a place where her story could be told and her memory kept alive. He carefully restored the house, preserving its character while erasing the scars of its past. He displayed Anya's diary prominently, her words a testament to her strength and resilience. He hung her photographs on the walls, her smiling face a reminder of the life that was tragically cut short. The house became a place of pilgrimage for those touched by Anya's story, a beacon of hope and a testament to the power of truth and justice. Abba continued to live in the house, no longer haunted by the past but comforted by Anya's presence. He dedicated his life to sharing her story, using his photography to capture the beauty of the world and the importance of seeking justice for the forgotten. He became an advocate for victims of crime, his experiences transforming him from a curious photographer to a compassionate voice for the voiceless. The haunted diary had not only revealed a chilling secret, but had also unlocked a hidden purpose in Aba's life. He had walked into the abandoned house, a curious photographer, drawn by the allure of the unknown. He emerged a changed man, forever marked by the experience, his life intertwined with Anya's story. The diary, once a source of fear and mystery, became a symbol of hope and resilience, a reminder that even in darkness, truth has a way of coming to light. And so the house stood, no longer abandoned but filled with the spirit of Anya, her memory kept alive by the man who had dared to listen to her whispers from beyond the grave. The haunted diary, its pages filled with both tragedy and triumph, served as a reminder that some stories are destined to be told even from beyond the veil of death. And in the quiet solitude of the house, Abba found solace, knowing that he had played a part in righting a wrong and bringing peace to a restless soul.